Good afternoon. It's Graham Healy from Rise Up Australia Brisbane 2025.com. And, the news that Ben Robert Smith, a decorated Victoria Cross Australian war hero, gets arrested publicly by the federal police at the Sydney airport. Isn't it an embarrassment? What's going on? This case has gone on for 10 years and suddenly, funnily, they arrest him now for what? Allegations, trumped up charges, witnesses that have been paid a lot of money in Afghanistan, of all places. This is an embarrassment, and I'm telling you now, it will backfire seriously. So, the image I've got there is from Yessa, Yessikoto. I'll write that when I put it up on the website so you can refer to that image. Just a quick bit of Ben Robinson Smith's background, and I won't go into it. You can have a look at it on Wikipedia. Born in 1978 as Australian former soldier in the Special Air Service Regiment, SASR. He is one of Australia's most highly decorated soldiers, having received the Medal of Gallantry, the Victoria Cross, the highest award for gallantry in battle that can be awarded to a member of the Australian Defence Force, a commendation for distinguished service in 2012. He's widely considered a national hero until 2023, when a judge found there was enough evidence, according to the standards required by the Australian defamation law, to establish that he had murdered 4 unarmed Afghans and broken the rules of military engagement. After his discharge in 2013, Robert Smith was named Australia Father of the Year. He was awarded a scholarship to study business at the University of Queensland. He received many other honours, and he was appointed by media mogul Kerry Stokes to be a top executive position in Seven Queensland and ultimately Seven Brisbane, from which he stepped down in 2021 to focus on his defamation action against Nine Entertainment. On October 2017, Robert Smith's conduct in Afghanistan came under scrutiny after reports emerged that he had killed an unarmed teenager and bullied other soldiers. He commenced defamation proceedings in 2018, but in 2023, Justice Anthony Pisanko dismissed the case, writing that he had disgraced his country. And in 2025, appeals to the Federal Court of Australia and the High Court of Australia were dismissed and refused in full. Now, you don't know what's really happened in a war zone. And the thing is, basically, when you have soldiers that are in, especially Afghanistan, and I've got associates who've been there as well, and, they'll strap up, 13-year-olds with suicide bombs and all this sort of stuff. So there's no such thing as civilians over there. There is, the civilians are used by the Taliban and the terrorists, manipulated into whatever. But in Islamic countries, they don't think anything about human life. That's you can see that in Iran. They've murdered 1 million of their own people. And of course, you don't have all the self-righteous people jumping up and down about all the 1 million people that have been slaughtered in Iran. And of course, they're all going on about Trump. Is it legal or against international law? Well, you better have a look at the international law. The international law is just corrupt and rotten. You have a look on who's on the boards of these so-called international law. Trump is recalibrating the whole global agenda. Now, that's not the purpose of this broadcast. It's really, isn't it interesting timing to make a public spectacle of a decorated war hero. Just think about the timing. Now, have they arrested, like these federal police, that the female federal police commissioner? I mean, you know, every time I look at it, I thought, you know, is she a police officer? Looks like she could do some modelling in a magazine, doesn't it? So they sort of put her up front there. I'd like to see her full background and what connection she's got with the Labor Party, especially. Now, you notice that not one Islamic hate preacher got arrested in Sydney. Not one. Are those crazy hate preachers in front of the Sydney Opera House after the 7th of October massacre of the Jewish people in Israel, the 1,200 and then the 250 taken hostage, when these characters were celebrating the streets of Sydney, obviously tied in with terrorism, not one arrest. Then on, the 15th of December, the Bondi massacre, the connections with these characters, of course, go back to the Lakemba Mosque, of course, and the reception that Albanese got in the Lakemba Mosque. The real problem is Islam, isn't it? So rather than face the real problem, the real elephant in the room, they make a spectacle, the Albanese government, because this is who be behind it, make a spectacle of our decorated war heroes. Now, this is morally wrong. Now, the rights or wrongs of what happened in the war area, who are who's got the evidence, who's been paid for this, and how come the press seem to have this big inside information all the time? So it just reeks of a setup to me, and the timing is worse. 10 years ago, all this sort of stuff was going on, and now suddenly, I'm very suspicious of it, actually, where by doing this, by doing it publicly too, and then making an announcement that so-called Commission of Federal Police in New South Wales is just a parrot, really, female parrot. You notice the timing of it. Has it been done as a diversion to take the heat off Islam? I think it has. The gutless, I'd say this, the gutless federal police as well, and the gutless Australian government under Albanese, who are terrorist appeasers, do nothing about the elephant in the room. Instead, they want to make headlines by arresting, a Victoria Cross hero, Ben Robert Smith. Why do it so publicly? Why do the whole thing at the airport so that mysteriously, whatever Channel 9 News or whatever is on site so they can all get a big news grab? Doesn't it make you suspicious? Well, it makes me suspicious. So this is my prediction. This is all going to backfire rather seriously. And I believe there was no judiciary, there's no jury that will, make Ben Robert Smith come to a decision that he's guilty. No jury in Australia will do that, guarantee it. And this whole case is going to backfire and blow up in their face, because once it goes to a trial, which I don't know whether it will, but it sounds like it, and then they've got to call evidence and scrutinise the so-called evidence from the media and all the rest of the circumstantial allegations, all this. When they say allegations, that means nothing is absolutely proved. So, this is going to be interesting. And I think it's going to blow up in the face of Albanese especially, and the federal police especially. And I'm looking forward to it actually, because I think that the whole, this will galvanise and rally the whole of Australia behind, Ben, and so they should. Regarding war, those ones who are trying to accuse Ben of so-called war crimes, let them go over to Afghanistan, let them go over to Iran, or let them go to the Gaza Strip and spend a couple of nights in a bunker when they're being shelled, and or a walk with a bulletproof vest on and walk into the enemy territory knowing that you could be killed in any second. See how they go. Or if they see a 13-year-old, especially with the Islamic persuasion, a 13-year-old turn up and just blow the hell with them to be detonated by, the Islamic terrorists behind them, and detonated right in the middle of a crowd. The religion of peace, the religion of peace is a peace here, a peace there, a peace everywhere. So that's the sort of environment these guys, these SAS or SARS soldiers, were placed in. And, talk about stress, and a lot of these soldiers came home with a lot of PSD, post-traumatic stress, because of what the images they saw, their friends' heads being blown off and all this sort of stuff. Not very pleasant scenario. So I believe, I'll just finish it off on this, that Ben Robert Smith, everyone keep praying for him, because I believe the whole thing's going to blow up and backfire is more of the word, backfire in the face of his accusers, actually. And the other suspicious thing is 10 years later. I mean, this has gone on and on and on and on. And if they had any substantial evidence, well, that would have been all sorted out very quickly, wouldn't it? So anyway, that's my take on it. And I find the timing of this very, very suspicious, especially with the Albanese government, who is basically terrorist appeasers. They've done nothing about the latent terrorists that we have around Sydney, the Lakemba Mosque and everywhere, just waiting for them to do something next, which inevitably will happen. And anyway, we'll see what happens. But definitely, I think I'll just leave it on this. I think that this will absolutely backfire, blow up in their face, actually. So, just keep praying for Ben. And I don't like to see any veteran being victimised and being trialled by media and all the rest of it. There's a hidden agenda behind this, and it'll get exposed. And as I say, there won't be any jury in this country that will say that he's guilty. That's for certain. Not our decorated soldiers. Why? You're going to ask yourself why. Why the timing now? Just think about it. In the middle of all this, the Bondi thing, I think it's suddenly it's a bit like where they never did anything about the pending terrorists on the marches over the last 2.5 years. The so-called Free Palestine marching with terrorist flags. They never did anything for 2.5 years. Then you have the Bondi event. And then they duck and dive and all. This is the Albanese government, who are pro-terrorism, by the way. Well, they're terrorist appeasers, so you're pro-terrorism. There's two-state agreement, for goodness sake. That's just madness. So what you learn by history, and Donald Trump's really good at this, you do not win with terrorism or radical Islam by appeasing them. They just see that as weakness, and then they take more territory. Now, in the case of Afghanistan, goodness sake, that was a projected war, and you didn't know who was the enemy and who wasn't the enemy, because they use, civilians. They're not walking around in uniforms, all of them, are they? And they're using kids, teenagers as suicide bombers and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, it's a very complicated situation, but the bottom line is, my question is, look at the timing. And look at how public it was. And it certainly looks like a real diversion tactic, but it will blow up in their face. It will backfire seriously. Graham Healy over and out. Have a great day. Keep praying for Ben. And I'm certain that, as he said, he's always claimed his innocence. And I'm certain that will be the case. And then those who accused him, including all the media and everything, they need the Donald Trump treatment, don't they? Okay. Have a great day. I thought I'd just do a quick video. Thank you very much. Graham Healy over and out. Go to Rise Up Australia, Brisbane 2025. Have a look at the blog. I've got a lot of interesting subjects here, prophetic and political. Okay. See you later.